One of the first pieces I learned to sing as a baritone was Schumann's Dichterliebe. My favorite recording of this is by Wolfgang Holzmeier. The opening song drifts in almost out of nowhere with that pungent 6th-degree D in the bass, over which color cues are drawn out in C-sharp dominant 7th harmony. Within this ambiguous haze of C-sharp dominant 7th that suffuses the entire song, the poet is heard twice, pivoting in and out each time with the D C-sharp half step in the bass. The poet's key of A major clears out the F sharp minor inflection of the C sharp dominant 7th temporarily, but seems to be nothing more than a dream within a dream. We are left lingering between the optimism of springtime in the month of May, mentioned in the poet's lyrics in Wunderschönen Monat Mai, on the one hand, and the melancholic foreshadowing of the heartbreak of F sharp minor. COVID-19 has kept almost all of us in suspense over the past few months. We are suspended from in-person classes, suspended in our increasingly suffocating apartments, suspended in time with week after week of the same four walls, suspended in anxiety, continuously tracking news reports for signs of the worsening or improvement of the pandemic. At the root of our anxiety is the uncertainty over the multiplicity of scenarios which may eventually unfold, much as both hope and despair are harmonically embodied in the opening of Dichterliebe. Of course, musical anxiety in Dichterliebe is enjoyable, while COVID-19 anxiety is nothing like that. But both are structured around multiplicity, and I want to talk about how we can listen to multiplicity in the post-COVID-19 world. Probably the biggest difference between musical and pandemic anxiety is that Dichterliebe is organized in a relatively integrated way by a composer and singer who holds the moving keys together. Pandemic anxiety, on the other hand, is stoked by the uncontrollable dispersion of real world events, even as we instinctively try to integrate the cacophony into a narrative that makes sense to us. As we emerge into the post COVID 19 world, however, we should probably shift from an exclusively integrated listening style to a partially dispersive listening style that tries to get a handle on the rapid changes taking place all around us. Over the past few months, we have seen the multiplicity of our professional and private lives converge inside our apartments. Children and pets have walked into classrooms and offices, often to humorous effect. Meanwhile, the ecological and technological systems around us have respectively interrupted and enabled the global economy. The circulation of a virus in the ecosystem has combined with the technology of the internet to give us the near universal phenomenon of work from home, which is already permanent for the employees of Twitter. No matter how we try to integrate this multiplicity of factors into a cohesive narrative, they remain stubbornly dispersive. How, for example, should we regard the systemic shock to the global capitalist order caused by COVID 19? After COVID 19, we will still practice integrative listening, but something else is necessary if we were to use our ability to listen to help us navigate the new world which came about in the last few decades. I'm adopting Oxford Dictionary's definition of listen as giving attention to sound. Specifically, I want to talk about what listening in the ecological and technological system might comprise. COVID 19 is a silent killer in the ecosystem. It is not only literally silent, unlike other organisms which may harm humans. COVID-19 lies silently among infected but asymptomatic patients, waiting to unleash its destructive powers on the elderly and those with pre existing conditions. Other parts of the ecosystem, in contrast, are not usually silent. I'm not talking about the murmur of brooks or birdsong in the rainforest. These sounds, of course, exist within the complex systems of ecology comprising various components such as the water cycle, animal vocal anatomy, animal reproduction, the physiology of hearing, and so on. I'm more interested in another part of the system impacted by the suspension of humans within the web of nature. A great example of this comes from the work of sound ecologist Bernie Krause, who recorded the sounds from Sugarloaf Ridge State Park in Northern California over a number of years.
The first recording, made in 2004, shows a very robust habitat with a signature of a stream. In 2014, things were changing radically. It was already the second year of a major drought in California.
What we're hearing here is a system at work, with the release of greenhouse gases causing global warming, leading to droughts and silence. The technological system around us also involves listening, but it is not just humans who are listeners. As we listen to Spotify, Spotify is listening to us and curating tailor made playlists based on our listening habits. As we are listening to each other over Zoom, Zoom is listening in on all our conversations and recording them. Is it possible that Zoom might start sending us advertisements on products based on our conversations, mining our data like Facebook? Or might Spotify figure out our listening preferences and commission a composer to write something like this? That was actually written by artificial intelligence, or AI. AI is found across almost all of the technology platforms we use. What we're hearing in AI generated music is a cognitive capability that will soon cause self driving vehicles to replace truck drivers, which will probably be just a small part of the coming systemic AI disruption. If at one point we thought that humans reigned over the earth, the last few months have shown us that we are merely suspended within the ecological system that gave us COVID 19 and the technological system that gave us the listening ears of Zoom. Whether a vaccine eventually creates the possibility of a post COVID 19 world, musicologists and ethnomusicologists will continue to marvel at Schumann and all kinds of diverse global repertoires. But inspired by our recent experiences, we might also make space within our playlists for listening to the ecological and technological world wide webs in which we are ineluctably embedded. Whether we end up more like the spiders making the web or the flies which are trapped in suspension depends in part on how carefully we listen and act accordingly.